Good afternoon, it's Nicholas from Gandor Gaming, and we got a brand new ritual archetype revealed out of DBCB, which is really exciting. This new ritual archetype has to do with dragons, dinosaurs, sea serpents, and worms, which is really cool. So let's get straight into this. This is a brand new archetype. It's combining Draco and Apocalypses or Apophanises. So it's a really interesting archetype. Let's just get straight into this. So now we have our first dinosaur of the archetype. This is Kaiba Rugged Apodrakosis of the Dino Crag. This is a level 10 Earth dinosaur effect monster. 3,000 attack, 1,200 defense. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once a turn. You can shuffle this card from your hand into the deck to add one of Apodrakosis Ascended Gate of Dino Crag from your deck to hand. Then during the main phase, you have two or more cards that were destroyed this turn. You can special summon this card from the hand, and then you can place one Draco Dragoness Ascended Drake Gate of Dino Crag you control to the bottom of the deck to target two cards on the field up to the number of types on your field and destroy them. So basically, this card says, hey, you can shuffle my ass back to the deck to add anything you want from deck to hand. And you can spell summon me if two or more cards were destroyed this turn. And you can place me back to the bottom of the deck to target up to two of your opponent's cards on the field and destroy them, which is pretty decent for a 3,000 beat stick. Let's keep going. So next we have the Sea Serpent. This is a level 10 Sea Serpent. This is Ryba or Yuba, the Abyssal Apodrakosis, a Sea Serpent. Level 10 Water Sea Serpent effect monster. 3,000 attack, 2,000 defense. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once a turn. You can discard this card to add one Apocalypse Ascended Gate of Sea Serpents from your deck to hand. So it adds anything from your deck but discarding them. During the main phase, if you have two or more monsters other than Yuba, Abyss of the Draconids Sea Serpents that were sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard this turn. Quick effect, spell summon this card from your graveyard. And then its third effect says you can place one face-up Apodrakosis Ascended Gate of Sea Serpent Fall you control to the bottom of the deck to banish your opponent's entire hand. And if you do, they draw the same number of cards. That's not as good as I thought it was going to be, but okay, whatever. Basically mulligans their hand. But the first effect, it adds anything. It's also just a 3,000 water. So I'm not really sure how this archetype works. Next we have Baba, Champion of Apocalypse, Draconids of Wyvern Haze. This is a level 10 Wind Wyvern effect monster. 3,000 attack, 1,500 defense. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once a turn. You can banish this card from your hand to add one Apocalypse Draconids Ascended Gate of Wyvern Haze from your deck to hand. And then if a monster becomes banished face up while this card is banished, and there are currently two or more banished monsters other than Baba, Champion of Draconids of Wyvern Haze, spell summon this card. I mean, basically, you can place one Ascended Gate of Wyvern Haze you control to the bottom deck to add one Apocalypse card from your deck, graveyard, or banishment to hand, except himself. So, pretty interesting archetypes. So, basically, all special summon themselves from different areas. The dinosaur special summons himself from hand if two cards are destroyed. The Sea Serpent special summons himself from the graveyard if two or more monsters are sent from the hand or deck to grave. And then the Wyvern Man special summons himself from banish if two or more different cards were banished this turn, which is pretty interesting. Now we have Gumbia Lumius Apodrakosis of the Starforge. This is a level 10 Dragon Ritual Pendulum effect monster. 3,500 attack, 2,500 defense. PS 0, so it's a 0 scale. Pendulum effect monster can only use its pendulum effect to discard name once a turn. During the main phase, you can add one Apocalypse card from your deck to hand, except a pendulum monster. Then destroy this monster card. So basically, You pop itself in a scale to add any Apodrakosis card from your deck to hand. You ritual summon this card with Gumia Luminous Apocalypse of Starforge. So it doesn't need a ritual spell. Does it say you just ritual summon its what? How does that work? You ritual summon this card with Gumius. He is his own ritual spell? Is that what it's saying? Interesting. Okay, and then you must be summoned by its own effect. You can only spell summon one Gumius, Lumius, Apodrakosis, Starforge once a turn. If a monster on the field is destroyed by battle or effects while this card's in your extra deck, tribute a level 10 Apodrakosis monster you do. Spell summon this card is treated as a ritual summon. Then you can destroy up to 2 cards you control, and if you do, place equal number of Dragonids continuous spells from your deck in the face-up field. Interesting. Let's read these spells. This is a new quick play spell. This is Apocalypse, Dragonids, World Creation quick play. They only use the first, second, and third effect of this card once a turn. You can add one Apocalypse Dragonids monster from your deck to hand. Then add one Apocalypse Dragon Pendulum monster from your deck, from your hand to extra deck face up. During the main phase, if you control a Apocalypse Pendulum monster, you can banish this card and one Apocalypse monster in your graveyard. Spell summon one Apocalypse monster from your deck with the same original type as the banished monster. This really reminds me of True Kings. The different attributes and the destruction / banish effects. Really, really interesting. I'm not sure if you're supposed to play the True King monsters in this deck. Next, we have Apocalypse Dragon's Ascended Crest of Transmogrification or Transminigration. My apologies. This is the field spell. You'll use the first and second effect of this card once a turn. When this card resolves, take 3 monsters from the deck, 1 dinosaur, 1 sea serpent, 1 worm, add them to your hand, banish one other, and send the last one to the grave. So I guess this spell basically does the whole thing you want to do. Basically, you activate this field spell, and then, hey, it adds one to hand, which will probably be the dinosaur. You send one to grave, which will be the sea serpent, and you banish one, which will probably be the wyvern, to get everything set up. Or maybe you do the opposite way, or you send the different ones so that the other ones can do their normal effects. So now you have 2 different names, and thus you can trigger them. I'm not really sure. If you have a face-up Gumius, Lumius, I know that's how you pronounce this thing, but it's literally a pendulum monster. It has a made-up name. Gombia, Lumius, Apocalypse Dragonids of Starforge in your extra deck. Spell summon up to 3 Apocalypse Drake monsters with different types, 1 each from deck, graveyard, or banishment. So the field spell literally says, hey, don't worry about it. We'll just summon all 3. Not only will we put all 3 in different zones, but then we'll spell summon all 3 directly from each zone, which is kind of insane. So this card literally says summon out 3,000 beat sticks with no cost to you. That's just kind of crazy. Next we have continuous spell. This is Apocalypse Dragonids Ascended Gate of Dino Crag. If you control a Dragonids Ascended Gate of Dino Crag, you can only control one of this continuous spell basically. A Dragonids monsters you control gain 300 attack, so now they're all 3,300, and the ritual is now, because of this continuous spell, 3,800. Next, it basically allows you to do is that if a Dragonids Pendulum monster that is level 10 or higher, whose original type is dinosaur, you control gains its effect. Once a turn, when the effect monster on the field with less attack, then this card is activated. A quick effect. Place one face up a Dragonid's continuous spell you control to the bottom deck to negate the activation. Oh, okay. Never mind. I misread that. So basically it says, hey, your dinosaur monster gains this effect. Basically you get to negate a card on the field by placing a Dragonid's continuous spell into the bottom of the deck. Interesting. Next we have the Sea Serpent one. This is a continuous spell. Apocalypse Ascended Drake's Sea Serpent. You can only control one of these. Your Apocalypse monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle. Apocalypse Pendulum monsters and a level 10 or higher monster whose original type is Sea Serpent you can control and gain this effect. Once on your opponent's turn, quick effect, place one face up a pocketed continuous spell you control into the bottom of the deck, target a card on the field, and return it to hand, so it's compulse. Alright, I understand how this archetype works now. So the idea is that you really need this fucking field spell. And what the field spell does is that it basically places each of the monsters into the correct zones. So one gets banished, one gets sent to grave, and the other one gets added to hand. Once you do that, then you can use the field spell to spell summon them from those retrospective zones. Then you can basically ritual summon using the ritual monster, because there is no ritual spells in his deck. The ritual monster is his own ritual spell, which is kind of crazy. Then, once he is special summoned, you can then activate his effect to place 3 continuous spells onto the field, and then those continuous spells, because you control the dinosaur, the aqua, and the earth dinosaur, basically have bonus effects that once used return themselves back to deck. So that's kind of the whole gimmick of this deck, which is kind of crazy. Now so we already read the earth one. Now we just read the water one. The water one's compulse. The earth one has a negate deactivation effect for a monster. Now this is the last card. This is the wind effect. If you control an Apodrakosis ascended Drake of Wyvern, you can only control one. Any monster sent from field to graveyard during your opponent's turn is banished instead, so it's Macrocosmos. Apodrakosis Pendulum monsters with level 10 or higher, whose original type is worm, you control gains its effect. Once per turn, during your opponent's turn, quick effect, place this card into the bottom of the deck, target one face-up card on the field, and change it to 0 attack. Yeah, so the idea is that you just summon out 4 really, really strong boss monsters, 1 ritual, and 3 main deck monsters. And then the continuous spells give them bonus effects. And then those bonus effects give shuffle back into the deck in order to then just keep redoing it. Very interesting effect. I don't know how consistent it is without its field spell. I feel like if you stop the Poconid, Draconids, Ascended Crest of Transmodification or Transmitigation, whatever the fuck this card says, I think you kind of stop the whole deck. Like, the continuous spells are kind of bricky because none of them actually do anything besides, like, give bonus effects to each of the main deck monsters. So the idea is that you want to place the continuous spells from the deck onto the field using the Pendulum. And then the main deck monster's whole gimmick is just basically special summon themselves, or set up as special summons. And the field spell really does all the heavy lifting. The field spell and the ritual are kind of like the 2 cards you really need. And then everything else kind of flows together ultimately. But, yeah, really interesting archetype. I have no idea how this archetype is going to play or if it's going to be competitive. I will say the Macrocosmos is pretty strong. This card literally says any monster sent from field to grave during your opponent's turn is banished instead, which is pretty good against Snake Eyes. Not to mention all these monsters become 3,300 or 3,800, which is pretty insane. So overall, new support looks pretty awesome. I can't wait to see where it goes next.